are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts, it's like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go, New York, go, New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to New York Knicks Podcast, episode 388. Never a dull moment in New York.
Never a dull moment being a Knicks fan. It's just wonderful. So I want to say that we haven't talked too much about free agency outside of the Knicks. A lot has happened in free agency. We will cover almost none of it this week. And we will do a future episode covering it all. But this week we're going to talk about complete and utter misery, our time as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, there's way too much Knicks stuff to talk about, the around the league stuff, which we do want to get to. But there's more pressing things going on right now.
Yes, more pressing things like Jay and I are rehearsing a karaoke video, and we wanted to see the karaoke video song on the show and see how that goes.
That should be the highlight of everyone's days.
Yes, I want to warn you ahead of time. I have the vocal talents of a poodle. Jay, can you sing?
And I might be even worse.
Perfect. Perfect. And everyone's wondering why we're going to sing, and I don't know. I just made Jay do this.
Yeah, I'm under extreme duress.
We've practiced this 0 times, so let's start.
I can't believe we're opening with this.
Do you want to talk about... Okay. You can lower the volume a little bit. Yesterday, all my Knicks troubles seemed so far away. Oh, Timmy Hardaway. Now it looks like Dolan's here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Right after we got rid of Phil. Suddenly, we don't have half the cap space we used to have. There's a Dolan hanging over me. Oh, yesterday, day after we got rid of Phil Jackson, came so suddenly.
All right, thank you.
Why did we have to go and sign Tim Hardaway?
Let's speak the rest of the episode.
Not say. I cried about being a Knicks fan. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday.
Okay, all right.
Being a Knicks fan was so easy to do because Phil was gone yesterday. And the Knicks hadn't done anything yet. We thought it'd be a...
Mark,
okay,
Mark, come on. Cut.
Okay.
Cut.
Oh, God.
So what happened this week is the Knicks offered their entire cap space to Tim Hardaway. He's now getting $72 million over 4 years.
71, Jay. Don't make this contract sound outrageous.
I didn't mean to exaggerate it so much.
Do you think they literally just said, like, hey, did you fax over that offer sheet to Tim Hardaway? Yeah, I just used the one on the file. You used Noah's?
So here's the thing. They said a report came out that said not only the around the league was surprised, people in the Knicks organization were surprised. What the hell is going on with the Knicks that the Knicks were actually surprised? Tim Hardaway suddenly gets this big contract for the Knicks, and the Knicks are like, how the hell did that happen? What other organization gets surprised by their own signings?
Tim Hardaway, we'd like to offer you an ungodly amount of money. How did those words come out of my mouth? Oh, God, what am I doing? It's like they were Jekyll and Hyde. Like, during the day, the Knicks are all like... during the day, they're like, oh, we're going to do everything smart. We're not going to make any moves. Then at nighttime, they become Dr. Which one's the bad one? Jekyll? They become Dr. Jekyll, and they're like, oh, let's give a wing that's not that good on defense all our money.
Mr. Hyde's the bad one, but I know.
Oh, whatever. I thought always thought Jekyll was the bad one. Hyde's the bad one?
Yeah, because it's Dr. Jekyll. The doctor is the scientist guy. Mr. Hyde's the monster.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Jay. Maybe you should run the Knicks.
I should. I would have done a better job.
Okay, I'm gonna take the side of this. I want to debate you on this.
Okay.
I am gonna debate that this was a great move for the Knicks. And you could, I assume you're gonna take the side that this was not a good move.
No, we should have a debate where we both take the same side.
Well, that would be a kind of an awful debate. So I am also going to say, hands down, I'm going to win this debate.
Okay.
Hands down.
You're wrong, but okay.
It's not even going to be like you're going to get crushed.
Bring it.
In this debate.
Bring it.
Okay. I will bring it. Do you want to start off, Jay, and start off your losing argument?
Sure. The Hardaway signing was catastrophic.
So, Jay, do you remember the 54-win season?
Yeah.
Why did the Knicks play a lot of small lineups?
Did they?
Yeah, remember one of the big things they did was they went small, and they did 2-point guard lineups. Why did they do that? That's when things were working out.
Oh, ball movement?
But why did they do that?
Because all their big guys were 40?
Well, guys were injured, and they were forced to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why did the Knicks give a journeyman who hadn't done anything in the league, Jeremy Lin, a shot and allow insanity to happen? Why'd they do that?
Injuries.
Because they were forced to do it by the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the Knicks have done, which is so brilliant, is they forced a rebuild. We got rid of our cap. There's no more free agents. You have to rebuild over the next 3 years.
Yeah, there really is no cap. We are capped out not just this year, but next year too.
We don't have any cap, yeah, and then we get rid of Melo. But basically, the next 2 years have to be a rebuild because there's nothing else the Knicks could do. They said, listen, we have to force our hand here. We're going to force our hand by giving all their money to a guy that will never work out, and we'll have to play the young guys. They forced their hand.
Here's my thing. So
if they signed Derrick Rose. Or someone else like that, a big name, they would have said, let's give it one more try with Melo, and let's not rebuild. Here, they have to rebuild.
So here's the thing. Around the league was saying that the Hawks would have matched 45-50, and the Knicks wanted to ensure that they got him.
Well, you have to. I mean, totally fair. A lot of people have pointed out, if you're going to get a restricted free agent, you can't just go if the Knicks offered 55 or even 60, Atlanta may match. You have to do something to get them not to match. So if the player was someone you really wanted and thought should be on the Knicks, the offer is not out of this world.
But then you had to offer a trade kicker and a player option?
Yes, those are all just in the Knicks standard language.
They just have a form sheet that has those things included?
Yeah, you're lucky at the last second someone erased no trade clause.
I mean, a 15% trade kicker?
Yeah, that's just the Knicks standard. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to make it as bad as possible for us. But on a positive side, though, let's go back to the debate. First, your Knicks are forced into rebuild. Now you would pretty much have to get rid of Melo. You're not bringing this guy in for $71 million and you're just going to say Melo's still going to shoot the ball. You have to get shots for Timmy Hardaway now.
Well, also, you can't tell Courtney Lee he's on the bench. And you can't sign Hardaway to $17 million a year and tell him he's on the bench. So unless they make a trade, both of those guys are starting, which by default moves Melo to the 4.
Or moves Melo off the team.
Well,
This pretty much says Melo's your days here are numbered. Because you brought in Hardaway to probably be your number 2 scorer.
Yeah. I mean, I would think so because the lineup just doesn't make any sense now. If you move Melo to the 4, you're moving Porzingis to the 5, and having Hernan Gomez come off the bench, which doesn't seem to make sense. And then what do you do with Noah?
Why is it? Well, Hernan Gomez might be off the bench. The Knicks might be questioning, and it still is questionable whether Porzingis and Hernan Gomez will be able to play together. Just based on their defense, they haven't looked so good defensively when they played together.
Right.
And they're not. Neither one of them are the most athletic. You might want some athleticism, either at the 4 or the 5 to complement, or at least a better rebounder. The Robin Lopez better rebounder at the 5 was very helpful with Porzingis. I don't know if Hernan Gomez is the guy that matches up perfectly with Porzingis. It's an experiment that we're going to see more of and see if it works, but I wouldn't just bank on those two working together.
Yeah.
It's not as obvious. Obviously, the French student and Porzingis are going to play together. They're totally different positions, and obviously you need a point guard. You could bank on that working out. This is it's questionable whether if Porzingis is a perfect 5 or a perfect 4. It's questionable whether Hernangomez also. I like his rookie year. He looked very good, but it's not like Hernangomez went out and played 35 minutes a night. The league catches up with you. He could be really good and get better, but he also could end up being like a solid guy off the bench. We're not sure if he's an elite a starter in this league yet.
Right.
I think he's definitely a solid piece for our future, and he's going to be a good NBA player. But I don't know if he warrants the starter or not.
I'm still trying to just wrap my whole head around the signing itself, because people are trying to justify it, saying he's only the 11th highest paid shooting guard in the league right now. Which,
I mean, people
on paper doesn't sound bad until you look at the list and everyone above him plays defense.
Well, the thing is, people are going to try to justify, it's a bad signing when everyone has to come up with all these stats to justify it. Obviously, it's a weird signing.
Yeah,
but you also want to make it look. You have to think about what does Hardaway do for you on the Hardaway. If Knicks got Hardaway on a normal contract, let's say it was 4 years, let's say it was 3 years, $30 million. Mm-hmm. Would you have been totally fine with it?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been so mad. The point is, we use our entire cap. We're not a playoff team, and we just locked in a roster that's not a playoff team for the next 3 years.
Well, you locked in a team that's rebuilding.
But we don't have a ton of assets, and I mean,
they said, a comment from Steve Mills, I think it was from Mills, who said, I'm paraphrasing basically, that Hardaway is part of our strategy of getting young, unselfish players and building that way. Basically, he said something along those lines that they're building with young players. Melo seems on the outs. I imagine, and they've said, the reports are the Knicks are actively trying to get rid of Melo now.
Yeah, the reports are he's going to go to Houston in a three-team trade with Portland. That came out 2 days ago, but it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know.
Who would the Knicks get? I have not heard this report.
Details are still hazy. I think everyone's fighting over who gets Ryan Anderson because nobody really wants that, but he's going to have to be a piece in the trade.
I mean, I'd be fine with the Knicks getting Ryan Anderson. I as long as they get some helpful pieces also. You get some draft picks, you get something that's helpful with it.
Right.
Ryan Anderson, on the face of it, is not a terrible NBA player. His contract's too much for what he does, but he's not a terrible NBA player.
No, but he's injured a lot, and he's making $20 million a year. That's the problem.
Are the Knicks going to be bad next year? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You might be right. I mean, we have so many bad contracts. Why not just get all the bad contracts but collect assets? See, all right, this is the part that pissed me off about the contract. So right after it, you have Detroit renouncing the rights to Caldwell Pope. So his value just went down. So we probably could have got him for much cheaper. And secondly...
How old is Caldwell Pope?
24, 25?
Oh, is he the same age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then 24 actually, younger than Timmy Hardaway.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm just going to jump out the window.
And the other thing I'm annoyed about is the Raptors wanted to dump Carroll, the Beast. So
the Beast! If you're going to mention it, we got to do the Beast report.
Yeah, that's true. I can't say that without...
Get ready for...
Taylor's oldest time.
The Beast Report.
So they traded him to the Nets and gave 2 draft picks.
The Beast! He is such a beast! He requires 2 draft picks to carry him out of town.
So, I mean, if we had cap space, we could have done that and gotten 2 draft picks.
By the way, just on a totally separate side note, I just saw this. I don't want to forget to mention this. Markelle Fultz is out for the Summer League with a high ankle sprain. He is already fitting in really well on the 76ers.
I also, we forgot to mention...
Go on.
We forgot to do all our intro stuff. We're part of the Almighty Baller Podcast Network, almightyballer.com.
Jay set up a Patreon page, right?
I set up a Patreon page right before the show. It's live, ready to go. So you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/NY Knicks Podcast.
Jay says the show costs money to do. I didn't know this. And so now he wants to actually not lose money in the show every week because he's an a-hole, really, right?
So we're not making the show paid content. We're not putting ads on the show. But if you want to throw us a little something, you can pledge as little as $1 a month, support the show, help us pay for some of our some of our expenses for the show.
And
Podcasting isn't cheap.
Certain things, if we get to certain amounts, we haven't figured out the exact amounts, but if you get to a certain amount per month, I will stop sniffling on the show. If we get to another higher amount, what else, Jay? What else we got for the fans?
Mark will move the microphone an acceptable distance from his mouth. These are all Mark technical difficulty goals to start off.
We might get we might get equipment that actually is even mildly professional.
Yeah.
We might get what else was I going to say? Oh yeah. If we get to what was the what amount you wanted to say? $250 a month. Jay will do an extra show. We'll do an extra show a month.
That's an actual goal on the site, and also if you are a $10 a month Patreon, then you get a Knicks shirt.
Also,
Knicks
for every
podcast
$100 a month every $100 a month we get to, I will allow Jay to do 10% more of the talking.
I am looking forward to my getting up to 10% one day.
Yes.
So,
and if we get to, and we mentioned this on our Patreon page, if we get to $800 million a week, we will buy the New York Knicks by October, and we will now control the New York Knicks instead of James Dolan, and it can't get any. It has to get better.
Yeah, guaranteed. To get better.
Guaranteed.
So if we get up to that $800 million goal.
Also, the New York Knicks are doing their own Patreon page to pay for Timmy Hardaway's contract. or Melo's buyout or whatever the hell you want to pay for, or pay Stefan Marbury because I'm sure we owe him money still. Okay.
So
what was that?
We're getting a random call. I don't think I want to answer
Okay.
that.
Take it.
Take it. Hello.
Marc and Jay.
Yes. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? It's Stefan. How you doing, brother?
Good. How you doing, Stefan?
Good, man. I'm driving back to my house. You guys have a show tonight?
We're recording right now.
Am I on?
You're on. You are on the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Well, we're doing good. I'm trying to connect to Mark right now. For some reason, Skype doesn't do conference calls. I had to.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello?
We have Stefan on the line, Mark.
So,
Hey, Stefan.
hey, guys. So just to let you know, my friend Alec is in the car, and he knows nothing about basketball, which is probably a good thing.
So your friend Alex knows as much as James Dolan.
Exactly, yes. Alec only watches Knicks games that I force him to watch.
Well, my condolences for your friend because it is a brutal time to be watching Knicks games.
Guys, what happened today with Griffin? I just saw a couple of headlines. Did you hear anything about what happened?
Well, we haven't talked about it yet in the show, but the basic story is Griffin wanted to bring in his own people. Because first of all, they were talking about he wanted to be the GM. The Knicks weren't sure on quite what his role would be. It sounded like he'd be kind of a co-GM with Mills, or Mills might be in charge. And Griffin wanted to bring in his own people, and the Knicks wanted to keep a lot of their own people in place. I guess
they've been doing so well.
Basically, the moles for James Dolan wanted to stay where they are. So,
Unbelievable.
So,
I'm not sure. Yeah, we're gonna say, Jay.
I was going to say I don't think they know what a GM does because they want to bring in a guy but have their entire staff who sucks stay, which isn't how it works. That's not how a team is run. So
yeah, I saw someone they were saying like, well, come on, you have to have like continuity in management. I was like, well, yeah, but if you're getting rid of some like your management, you can replace everyone. Like, let the guy come in, bring his own staff, and then do continuity from there.
I'm going to try that at work. I'm going to just do nothing but study for the CPA, and when none of my work gets done, I'm going to be like, well, you shouldn't fire me because we got to keep continuity.
Don't you also think it has to be James Dolan moles? He's like, well, I can't get rid of these people. They report back to me that everything you're saying behind your back.
Oh, it's totally Allen Houston.
So you think it was? Do you think it was Dolan? Do you think he's behind it?
Absolutely, yeah.
That, or they're like Mills, we're gonna give you a ton of power. You could choose the GM, the guy we hire, and you could be in control of him, and just tell the guy you're in charge of him. Like they don't understand how this works. I don't understand. It blows my mind that they had. I don't necessarily think Griffin was the best person in the world for this. But he's a very experienced.
I agree.
He brings the opposite of Phil Jackson. He brings he brings like 20 years of experience. The guy has some clue what he's doing.
Agreed.
I wouldn't have been unhappy. Stefan, would you have been unhappy if they hired him?
No, honestly, I wouldn't. I mean, I think he's confident. I don't really know that much about him. I think he gets a little bit of like a boost just because, you know, he won a championship with the Caps. But, I mean, honestly, I don't like Steve Mills. I never liked Steve Mills. He's not a basketball guy. I don't really trust his judgment. And I guess the only free agent signing that we made this season kind of proves that. It didn't make sense. I just didn't see the reasoning behind it. You guys remember? I remember when I asked you if I thought the Knicks had a plan because of signing Hardaway. Like, that's what it seems like. It seems like they think that they have this game plan. Like, oh, we're going to sign Hardaway, and then we're going to trade Melo and be able to get a point guard. That's what it seems like they think they can do. I don't know why they think they can do that, but.
Well, there's some talks about Rondo. I bet Rondo's on the Knicks come the fall.
You know what, man? I'm okay with it. I mean,
I bet
how bad could it be?
I bet he's here on a 1-year deal. And if you have Rondo coming here on a 1-year deal, I don't think it's the end of the world. Jay, do you think Rondo a 1-year deal is the end of the world? Because I really don't.
No. And at this point, I don't even care. Sign whoever you want. The damage is done.
The people have said, I mean, and I don't know. I saw people were saying that Rondo, young players raved about him and said he was a good mentor. And the place
I saw that made me feel good.
Yeah, I think he's coming here either the mid-level exception, whatever money they can get from getting rid of moving Melo. They're going to give some money. It's going to be like a 1-year. I bet they'll get more by the mid-level exception. It'll be like 1 year, $8 or $10 million to Rondo, and worse. So either he's a good mentor or it's a disaster. We still get a high pick, and either way it works out.
Guys, isn't it so funny? Like, we are so depressed as Knicks fans that we just latch on to any little tidbit of good news, like hearing that Rondo was potentially a good mentor. Like, I just want to latch on to anything positive.
Right. It's like we're looking at the news. We're like, Madison Square Garden did not burst into flames yesterday. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a good sign for the Knicks. How do you like?
I think Rondo would be great. I think. I mean, how could Frank not learn some moves from him after being with him for a year? Even KP. I mean, could you imagine KP and Rondo and the pick? I mean, I feel like it's only time before Rondo could potentially find a team and find a player and a personality that he meshes with. And when that happens, I mean, that could potentially be great. I know we're reaching for the stars, but could you imagine Rondo and KP and Hernan Gomez together?
Yeah.
That could be really great.
It'd be nice if we had a point guard that was willing to pass to our players.
I couldn't agree more, man. Wow,
so
man.
I'm trying to talk myself into Timmy Hardaway because he's here. You might as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all we can do.
So here's my argument: is this eliminates most if not all our cap space, and this forces the Knicks into a rebuild. And the Knicks only do things that are right when they're forced to. I think we'll have to develop the young players because we can't get anyone else, and that will work out well for us.
So, guys, after I had a long evening of not sleeping over the pick, I tried to find some silver lining in it because we're stuck with them. All we can do is, make a new friend this year, as you guys say.
Yeah.
I feel like the silver lining is, one, the Knicks did draft him, and it's easy to overlook because there's so much shit in this organization. But, I mean, from a positive note, again, with the Knicks actually being relatively competent in drafting, we drafted this guy late in the first round. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., even though he's got serious holes in his game, the dude put up 16 points per game last season. I mean, that made me at least feel good. Like, at least they drafted somebody, again, who kind of outplayed his expectations, so to speak. Do you guys know what I'm saying, kind of?
Yeah. No, I am impressed. The Knicks are good at drafting, and they drafted a guy who was like 17th in the draft, and a couple years later, the guy's getting $71 million. Good job, Knicks.
I know.
That's pretty good. Like teams want this guy. This is actually part of my. So I had an idea. The Knicks generally, their culture
I love it when you have ideas.
their culture has been pretty poor the last couple of years, and so I think Hardaway is sort of a good trend. We draft a guy because we're good at drafting him. Then we send him to another organization that's actually functional to develop the player, and then bring him back. So so if they traded KP, it'd probably be to the Spurs for 2 years, and then we max him out when he comes back. Yeah.
It's like when you ship your shithead high school kid off to a Christian school, and you get him back in a couple years.
We're sending our players to boarding school to make them better players.
Yeah.
So it also means for those people that are annoyed about Justin Holiday leaving, Holiday signed a 2-year contract, which means he's getting $71 million for the Knicks in 2 years.
So did you guys hear what I was reading that Jeff Hornacek? He was saying that he wants to try to incorporate, since now that he actually has full reign, kind of like a fast-paced offense, maybe with Courtney Lee, with 3 guards in the rotation. Did you guys see anything about that?
I saw the fact that he wanted to do a faster offense, and that's why also they want to get a more athletic team, which also says they're probably moving on from Melo, and I like that a lot. Because you look at that, the French dude is pretty athletic. The obviously Courtney Lee, you have Timmy Hardaway, you have guys that could really run. Plus with Porzingis could finish on the break. Hardaway actually is great at finishing at the rim. I remember from watching him.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, you have some athletic. You have a pretty athletic team that can move. I hope that works out. I mean, that seems like a good idea. I'm really shocked that Hornacek did not say, now that Phil's gone, I'm still in love with the triangle, and we're going to go full triangle.
Can you please let my wife go now?
Could you imagine he said that?
Do you guys think Randis is going to be on the roster?
Is he still? No, I really don't. How is he still here?
I think that was part of the problem with Griffin.
Not.
I think that was an issue for Griffin.
Rambis or just the whole coaching staff in general?
Well, he was part of it. Yeah, he's like, well, why is this guy who isn't good at anything still here? And they're like, well, he stays, and he's like, well, I'm gonna not take your job.
You're like, why is this guy who's a disaster here? And they're like, Kurt's sitting next to you. I know, whatever. He could hear me. I don't care. I don't want him here.
Yeah.
Kurt Rambis, he's for me, he's kind of like the person you think of when you're trying to last longer during sex with your girlfriend.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry, too much?
No, it's never too much on this show.
No. I mean, no. I'm married, so it's about getting it done. We never try to last long. We just want to get it done with.
I love you guys. What else is there to talk about? Can I just sit in the back seat with you guys for a little bit till you get bored of me?
Sure.
Thanks.
We were going to go to a we have a live recording of the Knicks calling up the
Well, we have the Atlanta Hawks we have a leaked audio of the Atlanta Hawks management discussing whether to match the Timmy Hardaway contract. So if you can play that, Jay, or we can have dead radio. Go, Jay.
No. Here's it.
Wait, cut the Jay. So, do you think while they were talking about whether to match Hardaway, someone told a joke first?
No.
I can't figure out why they'd be laughing. Let's cut to it again. See if we can analyze this again.
Okay.
I know what you did. You're a damn terrorist. All right, just get the hell out of here. I got a goddamn
Okay, then I quit as your son.
So that is the entire.
I like all the audio around that laughter that has just not fit at all in this.
He was watching a movie while he was ignoring the Knicks call.
They're like, well, wait, but we have to discuss this whole Hardaway thing. What do you think? What do you think their reaction was? They had to have been why did they even wait 48 hours? They wanted to probably call up right away and go, we're not taking this. But they're like, well, it'd be kind of the jerk thing to do. It's like, we have to just wait 48 hours to pretend the Knicks aren't insane.
No, I think that's what every team does because, you kind of try and screw the other team by stealing their player, and so they make you sweat it out and wait. I mean, Washington knew they were going to match Otto Porter. They waited the entire time. It's just the way.
Well, if you don't wait,
how much did he get? How much did Otto Porter get?
He got a max contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I think the Nets are just trying to screw everyone else's salary cap.
Yeah, but it keeps backfiring. Remember when the Raptors did that and they ended up with Landry Fields for $15 million?
Oh, speaking of dumb contracts, Langston Galloway got $21 million over 3 years.
Good for him, man. I like Langston. He seems like a cool cat, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, I like him. It's just it's a lot of money for Langston Galloway.
He plays defense.
Yeah. It's so weird the last couple of years in the NBA, just because of the salary cap thing. It's so insane because I think in a few years, this money that they're giving these guys, it's not going to seem like a lot. But to us, it's crazy because 8 years ago, that's insane money to even some of the best players in the league. It's so confusing now with the money,
The cap isn't necessarily going up. They said the cap is going to be a little bit lower this season, and they think next year is going to be lower than projected also. I don't know how much the money is going to keep going up. I'm not completely convinced.
I have to give the Nets some credit. Looks like they're kind of moving and shaking a little bit, considering they have zero flexibility. I was pretty impressed with some of the moves that their GM made this offseason. What do you guys think?
I like the D'Angelo Russell move. I think that was a smart. He was a high pick a couple of years ago. Maybe it wasn't the right situation. Maybe second act he could figure it out. I like that move a lot.
I mean, they're doing what they can for a team with no draft picks and
it's
prospects.
great for the franchise too. It kind of gives them a new look, and I think it gives them a little bit of more appeal. I think to other free agents moving forward now that they kind of have a younger core or somebody to potentially grow around.
Yeah, I mean, Brook Lopez, he's been a really good player, but you're not building around him. You're probably not going to re-sign him. You got to move on and give the fans someone now the fan. If you're a Nets fan, you're like, well, at least for a little while until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to buy into this whole D'Angelo Russell thing, and I'll go to the games, I'll get excited about him, and maybe we can build something here.
Well, it's also his first healthy year in a long time, so I think they might have sold high on him.
Lopez, what else do the Nets do? They do something else, right?
They got they got. Sorry, I'm blanking. They traded Bogdanovich, Justin Patterson. Is that his name? From the Nets. They traded Justin Patterson.
Justin Anderson?
And
no. I know.
Sorry, guys, I'm blanking right now.
Oh, they got DeMar Carroll.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I like that move, not for getting DeMar Carroll, but they got some draft picks with it, which was kind of a smart move. But as Jay said before, that would have been a smarter move for the Knicks than Timmy Hardaway for $28 billion or $71 billion. But
any signing. I can't believe how many point guards signed for less than Hardaway that we didn't even offer money to. It baffles my mind. I just don't understand it.
Well, a lot of guys didn't make that much sense. A George Hill did not make that much sense.
Agreed. I don't think he's that great.
I feel like he drafted the French dude. I want to see him to get major minutes. I don't want to lock into 3 or 4 years of some other guy who's going to have to start over him. You do a 1-year deal for Rondo, you could say, hey, he's going to learn from Rondo, and we're setting him up so he'll be the starter next year or the year after. But starting a 4-year deal for you have to set up that this guy's going to be our starter going forward until proven otherwise. Hopefully he ends up being good, the French dude, but we're banking a lot on him being good.
Guys, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to watch him play. I cannot wait.
It'd be nice if he was played in Summer League. That would have been nice.
I know, of course.
Not that it matters that much, and the regular season is the only thing that matters, but I do... Jay, are you... Between a couple weeks ago, before Phil Jackson was fired, and now, how much more excited are you to watch the... what were you 1 to 10, Jay, for next season, before Phil Jackson was fired, and now? Before the draft, or whatever. How much more excited are you now? Say you're more excited, Jay. Just say it.
I'm way more excited. Yeah, that's the ticket.
I'm a little more excited. Once they move on from I will be very excited when they move on from Melo also.
Well, that might happen before next episode.
That would be amazing. That might be an emergency episode. Are you Stefan, are you on board with getting rid of Melo?
I am. I'm a little nervous because it seems like a bit of a dumpster fire. We have like a GM who doesn't seem, it's kind of the jury's out on how confident he is. I'm excited to hear that they're interested in Rondo. I don't know how legitimate it is, but I mean, it kind of just seems like any sign, like even Rondo, it's kind of contingent on getting rid of Melo because we only have like $4 million in cap space. It doesn't seem like, do you think Rondo would sign for $4 million?
I mean, maybe, but I think he's probably also using the Knicks to like see what other offers he can get.
Yeah.
I obviously he probably wants a multi-year deal, but if that's not out there, and that may not be out there for Rondo, I could see him more likely signing for like 1 year, $10 million, which wouldn't be outrageous if we can get some more cap space from trading Melo. I feel like just the Timmy Hardaway thing also just says you have to be getting rid of Melo because Hardaway needs shots. You cannot have Melo hogging the ball.
Yeah.
The goal here is that we're all hoping, no matter how ridiculous you think this is, we're all hoping that Timmy Hardaway gets better. The Knicks aren't banking on that he's going to be exactly like what he was last year. They think we have a player that's improving and will keep improving, and the guy's got to be a high-volume shooter. Him and Porzingis got to be our two main focal points on offense, and that does not happen if Melo's here.
So I'm so confused because we keep hearing that the Knicks organization, they don't want to make a Melo move until they hire a new GM. But I mean, we don't have a lot of time. What are they doing? I have no idea what they're doing.
They already hired a GM. You didn't hear about this? Jay, we didn't tell him?
No, we didn't tell him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Timmy Hardaway Sr. He's the one that made Junior the offer. He's in charge. Stat's in charge. You didn't know that? That's the only way that this Timmy Hardaway move makes sense.
You're messing with me, right? Are you messing with me?
No. Timmy Hardaway Sr. is your new GM.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad we got that off the table.
So here's the thing. So let's talk about Timmy Hardaway. What stats? What does he have to do? So we're all hoping he works out. No one wants to be no one's an arrogant a-hole here who's gonna be like, oh, I want Hardaway not to work out just so I was right about this. We all want this move to work out and him to be yeah. So what does he have to do going forward for this move to work out? What do you want to see from him?
You know what? I think I think we'd all like to see him grow as a player in his next season. I mean, he's still young. He hasn't been in the NBA last very long. I did like that he put up. I mean, I didn't watch any of the Hawks playoffs games. It's good to see that he put up some points, in big games. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see his stats, of course, continuously go up. Maybe his efficiency. I'd like to see better defense. But honestly, like next season, it's not so much about what could he do to make it feel like it was a good trade. I'd like to see him work well with the rest of the guys on the team. That's really what I want to see. I want to see good team chemistry. I think that's more important because if the team outplays the expectations, I think we're going to unanimously say, oh, maybe that wasn't such a bad move. That was a fun season. If they bomb and he does 17 points a game, that's not necessarily better, I don't think. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, yes, you're right. If they play better team ball and they're winning games, that'd be great. I don't think they're necessarily going to win games. So there has to – I guess basically – I mean, obviously, a lot of things you're saying are going to be some things are subjective and like –
right.
I guess like just looking just numbers-wise, because that's all we can really do now. Obviously, we want them to play well as a team, but just numbers-wise, what would actually work out for us? And I feel like looking at – well, first of all, I listened to after this was done, I listened to an Atlanta Hawks podcast because I wanted to see what their take on it was. And I almost wanted to cry during their take on it because they were like, yeah, I was going to talk. Basically, the guy on the show basically said, if the Hawks had made a reasonable offer to Timmy Hardaway, I was going to argue against it. So this makes it a lot easier. which didn't give you a lot of confidence. But I really think like he averaged about 14 points a game last year. If he can get his average up to like 18, 19 points a game, get his shooting percentage up from to between 45 and 47%, that'd be decent. Maybe average he averaged 2 assists a game last year, maybe up to 3 assists or a little higher, a couple extra rebounds. This doesn't seem so otherworldly. If you give him the opportunity, it doesn't seem absurd for him to get those kind of stats.
Especially on a bad team.
Yeah, well, yes, on a bad team that helps a lot. Jay?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more improving on defense. If he looks like even close to an average defender, because he was atrocious on the Knicks. If he can get up to an average defender, then I think we might have a win here because he can score, but it's empty points if he's giving up as many points as he's scoring.
One of the things the last couple of years also has been that the team, even guys that are coming here are supposed to be good on defense, like Courtney Lee, have looked bad here. You have a lot of guys that basically, if they played one-on-one, they could play decent defense. But when the team-oriented thing happens, they break down. They don't know what they're doing. If the Knicks can just Hardaway and everyone else can play a little more team defense, that'll be a huge win. And Tim Hardaway, he's going to be 25 next year. He's a guy he's shown from Atlanta he's willing to learn, work on his game to get better. And if you have a bunch of young guys, you have a much better chance of building a roster can all get better together and learn how to play defense together. Then, I mean, the idea of bringing in a vet who's playing the league for 7 or 8 years and then making them learn the triangle or making them learn whatever system you have doesn't seem like it's a really plausible idea for success versus getting a young team that's going to learn together.
Yeah.
What is that banging sound in the background?
I think that is Steven's car.
Is that your friend banging his head against the the window while this conversation?
Are you guys getting weird sound? I'm on Bluetooth in my car.
There's a weird sound in the background.
1 second. Let me see. 1 second. How's that? Is it better? Better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just I think you have to be as positive about this as possible till basically it explodes in your face. The Knicks season every year is kind of like one of those wind-up kid toys where you're just playing it and nice music coming out and everything's good, and then the thing opens, bursts in your face, and you're like, God damn it!
Let's get to some questions.
I think, Stefan, we're going to let you go at this point because we're going to do the questions without you, if you don't mind.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Call in anytime. I'm sorry that we can't call in on a time when we actually have just good news to share with everyone.
I know. Hey, real quick.
Sure.
What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to be the biggest disappointment in out of the top 10 draft picks this upcoming season?
Well, that's a good question.
It's
hard to say. It really is.
Yeah, they all they all. I mean, the thing is, everyone's always built up so much for the draft, and then I think Lonzo Ball is going to be a big somewhat of a disappointment.
You do?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll end up being really good. Who the hell knows? I'm of the guys though. I feel like Lonzo Ball is set up to succeed and also set up to have things not work out. There's a lot of weight on his shoulders.
I think Monk will. I mean, Monk didn't go in the top 10, but
yeah.
I think he's going to be the biggest bust. Mark, you saw the message I sent you. I got into an argument with a 13-year-old at the barber shop over the draft pick. Yeah, it was a low moment in my life. And after I finished the argument, it dawned on me that this kid could very well be right, and I could be wrong. But he was so upset that we didn't take Monk, and that we took Frank. And my argument was that Malik Monk is tiny. He's 6'3". His wingspan is shorter than his height. I don't think he's going to be able to guard the 1 or the 2 position very well because he's not a big dude. He's a good shooter, but, I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to hang. I really don't. And I think Frank. I mean, he can guard the 1-2 if he gets bigger, which he will. He can even be able to guard the 3 position, and he's a pretty good shooter. Again, we just need a veteran point guard to kind of show him the ropes a little bit. So, anyway, guys, I'll let you go. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
I was going to say, I feel like the guy actually probably has who set up the guy who has the biggest bust potential is probably the guy the Knicks took. But I think he has I like the pick, but you have to say there is a bust potential there.
You know what? I think in the draft, you have to realize there's a bust potential with any of them, of course.
Right.
And everybody talks about, upside. You take the player with the most upside. I know this is, conjecture a little bit, but to me, I think Frank has the most upside. He's a huge point guard who plays great defense. I mean, look at the upside on a guy like that next to like a Malik Monk. I mean, I thought it was really interesting that Isaiah Thomas quote. I actually loved it. He said, if I was 6'5", I'd be the best player in the world. Did you guys see that?
No.
I did not see that, but I would say I like the potential. I just like the potential a lot more. The defense and the potential more of Frank than I liked of Smith. And I didn't think Smith and Monk really could make that big of a difference. Whereas, and I could be completely wrong, obviously, because who the hell knows. But I think Frank could actually make a big difference in this team going forward if we develop him.
Absolutely. And hey, let's just take solace in the fact that Derrick Rose will not be on our team. Most importantly, right?
Yes.
That
okay,
is
thanks for joining us.
That is the plus side to this.
All right,
thing.
guys. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for calling in. Later, man.
Jay, who would you say the top 10 is your biggest bust? If you got to pick one to be bust, I sang Lonzo Ball, who the hell knows who's going to be the biggest bust? But I feel I know with the Lakers how much of a mess they've been, that I could see he gets off to a bad start and just the negative energy and the negative, everyone starts going crazy about it and just it's a bad cycle for him there.
I could definitely see that happening.
What do you think is the biggest bust potential?
I would say either Ball or Tilakina. I mean, we made a high risk, high reward pick, so that's what happens with that.
I mean, you could say Fultz also. Fultz could end up being really good, but at the same time, if Embiid ends up being out for the whole season, which could always happen, if he has that, and I don't think Philly's just they could be really good next year, or kind of not very good again.
I mean, Ball, he has a reality show now. I could see there's being too many distractions.
Yeah. Whatever. I would love to have picked a little higher to take one of those guys, obviously. But
nope, we built a winning culture. Totally worth it.
The Knicks were so close to a De'Aaron Fox at number 5. The Knicks could have easily had the 5th pick if they just lost a couple extra games.
Yeah, literally 2 more games.
I love that someone pointed out that the Knicks brought back, by the way, for $71 million, they brought back the guy that cost us Towns.
Yeah, that is true. If you
okay.
want to call into the show, our number is 631-676-1181, or you can Skype The Brink of Sanity, which is our comedy podcast, brinkofsanity.com.
Or you could just show up at Jay's place. Ring his doorbell in Astoria. Just show up to the show with him.
Matt writes, hello, what is the best part about Phil Jackson being fired? To me, it's Sasha. I can't spell his last name getting cut. I don't know why, but that just seems to ring a bell. Do you agree?
They've already cut him, right? They've already renounced the rights to him.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not to just give him a bigger contract.
Once we move Melo, we're giving all that money to Sasha. He's our vet there. Yeah, I love the fact that Sasha's gone. Hopefully Rambis is gone as well. It didn't seem like there was any point to having Rambis here.
Well, I think they should drain the whole swamp. I want them all gone. Anybody who even had any input on some of these horrible moves lately, I want them all gone.
Yeah. You know what? I have to say we have to stop talking about Dolan going, because Dolan's never going. That's the one fact that's never going.
Well, that's the dark side of this story. If he's the guy who was saying, we're keeping all my guys in there, even if we get a new president, then, it's going to be a long 30, 40 years until he dies.
You might as well just say, the Knicks will be better when they drop the silent K from their name. It's just as likely as Dolan. He's a billionaire already, and what billionaires do is they buy toys and they keep their toys. There's no way he's want to get rid of the Knicks. There's just nothing's going to happen.
Right.
It's staying. Your best hope is that when he passes, he passes it on to someone in his family who's more competent than he is.
Alan writes, I'm sending this after David Griffin has withdrawn from the GM job. 1, I was initially angry that the Knicks offered Hardaway Jr. a 4-year, $71 million contract. However, I kind of understand why. He's young, athletic, and he's improved on defense. He was 16th in real plus-minus for a shooting guard. I think he could be good on offensive end with KP. Plus, he suits Horny's fast-paced three-guard lineup. 2, with Melo must likely moving to Houston, I hope we at least get one good asset, hopefully another young guy. And 3, I understand Marc and Jay will shit on Rondo joining, but he was brilliant last year for the young Chicago Bulls players, defending them from Wade and Butler bullying ways. He was also the same with Sacramento's youngest in the 15-16 season. Rondo, probably a good mentor for Frank, and will get KP easy buckets. I believe if the Knicks are playing with house money next season, if we play crap, we get a high draft pick again, or they play brilliant and are in the playoff hunt. At least the Knicks want to go young and build a core around KP.
I have to say, like, Rondo on a 1-year deal, I do not mind. If he gets a multi-year deal, I'm going to be a little more annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. The players seem to like him, but every single coach hates him, so it's like a weird situation.
Also, just Timmy Hardaway, why couldn't the Knicks have just made a 3-year offer? An offer that, like, matches up perfectly with Noah's contract, because we're already in cap space hell with Noah here, so at least, like, Hardaway and Noah's contract would end the exact same time, and then you'd have all this money to play with after you've developed the team for 3 years.
Right. And we already got our first comment about Patreon asking if we're Tommy D.
We are not. Yes,
I knew that would happen.
I knew we were going to get that. Everyone's going to make fun of us because you set this up 2 years ago, but no one knows that, including me.
I know. We had it 2 years ago, and we never launched it, and now we look like we're copying.
At the same time, nothing's gonna. We're not. There's no like paid content. Like we're not putting anything behind a paid wall. We're not.
Right. He literally he's literally is only putting out episodes if you have to pay him money to listen to his podcast. So we're not doing
some are behind his paid wall, some are not behind it.
Yeah, well we're not doing
that. We're not Tommy D. We're also like we're not gonna like make up stories and put them behind a paid wall. Here's a rumor that no one else is reporting because it's not true. But behind a paid wall, whatever. I also found really weird while a full day after this whole Tommy D thing was this whole Timmy Hardaway thing was going on. I looked at Tommy D's Twitter, and all it was there was no comments about Timmy Hardaway. The whole big news in the Knicks world. It was just him arguing with some dude. It was just him, some guy like back and forth for like the last 3 days. They've been arguing. This one guy who appears from his Twitter page to work for the Rachel Maddow show, and it's just him and the Maddow guy are just arguing back and forth for like 3 days. And now he's put some stuff about Timmy Hardaway up there now. He's after like thinking about it for 48 hours, he's now in favor of it.
Well, he wanted to wait for all the haters to finish posting, he said.
I don't know. By the way, did you see the thing that Phil Jackson posted a picture of his like legs up,
yeah,
like vacationing?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Phil Jackson such an a-hole?
He is.
I've been saying a-hole a lot today. I'm trying not to curse in the show.
Such a prick.
By the way, that was taken like during like the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you're on vacation, like you were the last 3 years you're supposed to be doing this job. Thank you, Phil.
Let's go to Facebook questions. You got them up?
Yeah, I got them up. Okay. We have one or two of these. Andy writes, is everyone still happy that Phil is gone?
Yeah, I mean, Phil was doing a terrible job. I just think it shows that there are more terrible people within the organization that also need to go.
Yes. It basically showed you haven't killed off. Just we removed one tumor doesn't mean the cancer's gone.
Yeah.
Phil writes, Tim Hardaway Jr. and asks us to comment on that. Tristan writes, please do a Beast Report. We have. Adam writes, I have a question. Why?
Because Knicks.
Well, here's the question, Jay. Let's say the Knicks signed Hardaway to a 4-year, $48 million contract. A contract that would have been saying, everyone would have agreed that it's a little more of a reasonable contract for him. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And you could have said, like, I don't know why they're bringing Hardaway in, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to do with that extra money?
Keep it so we're not capped out next year. I mean, I saw some people say, like, well, you can't leave cap space, but what's the point of capping yourself out when you're a not playoff team?
But the next 2 years, you want them to play the young guys, right? Is there anyone you want them to bring in? You don't want them to bring in a lot of veterans.
The problem is you never know. But now it doesn't matter. Somebody gets bought out. Somebody gets cut. Somebody is trying to do a salary dump near next trade deadline. Things come up. And
the only advantage if you're taking salary from some other team and get draft picks with it, that's an advantage. But other than that, like, we don't need the salary cap because we're not signing anyone.
You literally just said it would have been nice if we took on Carroll to get the draft picks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And that's why you save money.
No, I agree with you. Unless you're doing it to get draft picks, but the Knicks apparently aren't doing that. I don't, Jay. I have to talk myself into the situation. Like, I can't go on, Jay.
I mean,
this is all ridiculous.
That's why you save money, though. Those things come up all the time. There's going to be now every single salary dump. We're going to get pissed off.
When's the last time the Knicks have done one of these where they took draft picks to take a salary dump?
Never.
Do you remember the Knicks doing this?
No.
Why don't they ever do this?
It seems like such a smart choice.
Just get assets. The Knicks need assets.
We have all the salary dump contracts without getting the picks for it. We make our own salary dump. Like, now we want to salary dump Noah, but nobody's going to take that.
Okay, so the Spurs are talking about offering Jonathan Simmons about $9 million a year. Clearly, if the Knicks had said, hey, Jonathan Simmons, we'll give you $72 million plus a trade ticker for no goddamn reason, we probably would have had Jonathan Simmons. And people have argued, well, Jonathan Simmons averaged 6 points a game last year and is 28 or like turning 29 next year. Would you have liked Jonathan Simmons?
Yeah, I mean, he plays defense. I didn't know he was that old.
You can't base it necessarily on his, like, in the playoffs, when given the opportunity, he looked pretty darn good. He's a little bit older. Yeah, he's turning 28 this season, not 29. So he's 3 years older than Hardaway. But I feel like he's also a guy that, like, he's not quite on KP's timeline, but he seems like a guy that, like, he's like a pretty good player. Seems like a guy that can get really good, and we can, like, get on this guy that's going to, like, I feel like Simmons, when given the opportunity, is going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be a starter in this league, and I would have liked that better. Yeah, I would have liked that better. Paul writes, Crawford, 2 years for $9 million, or Timmy Hardaway?
Let's see, $4.5 million. See, that was the other thing. I see all these players like, all right, you say Hardaway's better than Justin Holiday, which is true, but is he like 4 times as good?
Yeah, Justin Holiday, though. So in theory, Tim Hardaway was a starter on a playoff team. In reality, Hardaway was not a starter on an awful team last year. Like, Hardaway does not look like he's ever going to be a starter. He's 28 years old. Justin Holiday will not be a starter in this league. Timmy Hardaway, there's a chance he could be a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Which is worth more money.
Right, but is it worth that much more money? That's,
Yeah, I mean, but there's also a big gap because I feel like guys who people see as starters get a lot more money than guys who are considered role players.
It's also people don't pay any attention to defense.
No, I mean, that's obviously true. But Justin Holiday wasn't that amazing of a defender either. We're overrating Holiday a little bit also. We he just looked serviceable because the Knicks were just so bad last year. Holiday would disappear from games all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're moving Melo, you kind of have to score points. And Hardaway, you need to play some of that offense.
I know what you're saying, but...
By the way, Jamal Crawford, 2 years... Timberwolves, I like what they're doing. It makes... Crawford went to the Timberwolves, am I right?
Yeah. Timberwolves had a monster offseason.
But Timberwolves are making a run for the playoffs. Crawford makes perfect sense. Knicks are basically thinking they're going to be a top 5 pick next year, maybe top 10 pick. They're not going anywhere. You don't need to sign a Crawford.
Okay, how does this make you feel? Tim Hardaway's contract is bigger than Darren Collison, Jody Meeks, Tyreek Evans, Ben McLemore, Nick Young, Patrick Patterson, Omri Caspi, Michael Carter-Williams, and Justin Holiday combined. How do you feel about
You know,
that?
I never thought you'd say the word combined at the end. The word combined really threw me off.
They combined for $68.3 million.
Holy crap!
So put that in perspective.
Wow. McLemore's a bit overrated. Holy crap!
I'm not saying this is like a killer's row of players, but I would much rather Tyreek Evans for 3.5 or whatever he signed for.
I mean, I guess if you're gonna say where Knicks are not gonna sign, not gonna like do a trade dump, which would be great, then I guess other than that though, I don't think like I mean, it makes sense that you want to get a guy a young player who's going to take the next step, get him before he takes the next step. I mean, even like James Harden. Harden was good with Oklahoma. He took the next step with Houston. He went to a whole nother level. And you ideally want to get a young guy who's going to take his game to the next level. And if the Knicks really think Hardaway's going to take his game to the next level, it's not a bad deal.
Right, but I think the problem is that they think that.
Well, I mean, you take gambles. There are a lot of guys that got contracts last year that teams are like kicking themselves. Like, who's the other guy? The Hawks have Bazemore?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's equally a terrible contract. He has pretty much the exact same money Hardaway got, and he's a horrible contract also.
Yeah.
And Alan Crabb, I think got a little bit less money in Portland, but like also bad contract. A guy they thought would be really good and really has not lived up to the money they
Right,
paid.
but we don't have to add ourselves to that list.
No, Knicks have to be on every terrible list you can come from. Like the Knicks had to be. They were like, oh, they're doing a top 10 list of worst moves of the offseason. They're not even mentioned. We got to get on that list. We got to be number one.
All right, we're running out of time. Let's keep the questions going.
Derek writes, is signing Timmy a Dolan move? Steve Mills is just doing an order for his boss. So there was some rumor that Dolan really likes Timmy, and that's why he's back. Do you think James Dolan made this move, or did Steve Mills make this move?
I think Mills made the move, but I think Dolan is keeping all his legion of idiots in power.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair to me. I really do think Steve Mills has a plan to go young, athletic, and thought Hardaway fits into that mold and wanted to make one. The problem is also Steve Mills probably also wants to prove himself that he could be the GM, so he needs to make a move to prove that. At the same time, he wants to be the GM, so he's not going to hire someone else to replace him.
Right.
They probably gave him the role to like replace himself, and he's like, "Oh, Griffin, you want to be the GM? Well, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Chocolate. You're wrong. You don't get the job."
Yeah.
Yeah. Jaime writes, so now that we have Timmy, do you think the triangle is going to be better? Jaime writes, Marc and Bry, will Collins get fired after this season since the Mets game over? Also, wouldn't mind watching a game with you two. Yes, so here's I'm going to answer this. Jay, I won't talk too much about baseball, Jay, but I think Collins has to go. Jay and I are up for going to a game. When are we going to a game, Jay?
Soon.
You don't want to give the date out?
I don't think we figured out a date.
I thought we were going Wednesday the 19th we're talking about.
Okay.
Jaime, send us a message. We'll tell you can come to the game with us. Paul writes, do you think you guys thinking of League Pass this season? I definitely would need to watch the Kings with the Fox and the T-Wolves.
Yeah, both of those teams are going to be fun to watch.
I like what both those teams are doing. Yeah. I like the mix of the Kings have enough young guys to build around, but I like the fact they brought in some vets.
Yeah.
Kenny writes, if we buy out Melo, would that cost only count against this season's salary cap, thus allowing us to tank this season, leaving us with plenty of cap space in 2018 free agency to go along with a high draft pick to put with KP and Frenchie? I think my understanding is that when you buy a guy out, his salary you still take the same cap hit.
Yeah, I think that's the way it works, and then whatever he gets from other teams is what comes off.
Yeah, I think like the buyout is so what is he owed? Like he's owed something like 2 years, $50 million, right? Something along those lines. So I guess the Knicks, he has to agree to a buyout. But is it just the Knicks are just saying like the Knicks have to give him the full amount of money, right? Or do the Knicks like say, we'll give you $48 million, we can give you a discount, but the full amount counts against the cap?
Yeah.
I don't think I am not sure exactly how it works, but I think you don't get any cap relief. The only way you get cap relief is to stretch the guy out, and that works. That probably works out worse for you.
Yeah, definitely don't want to stretch.
Who do you think? Who's as far as teams you really want to watch now? Who else? Is there anyone else that you really want to watch? Like, who's your top 3? You're saying your top 5 League Pass guys, teams in no order.
Definitely Timberwolves.
I have to think Houston's got to be up there.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what the Thunder look like now with George.
Yeah, Golden State, because I still think Golden State's insanely entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kings.
Pretty
who else.
much every team in the West.
The Pelicans. I still kind of want to see the year 2 of this experiment they got going.
Yeah.
Kenny writes, Justin writes, is the Griffin choice wise? Is that some idiotic effort to land LeBron? Well, he's gone now, so it doesn't really matter. Jaime writes, Plumlee is gone. How could we waive such an impact player? He was the franchise. # season's over. So we did waive our Plumlee.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think Plumlee is better than Noah, Jay?
Yeah.
Is it going to matter at all that we got rid of Plumlee?
No.
Here's the question. Will Plumlee be in the NBA next year?
No.
Will he be in the G League?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tristan writes, does this mean we're going to give Iman Shumpert a max deal?
Why not? Get the gang back together.
No, this is right. We send guys out to learn to develop elsewhere, and we bring them back for max deals. So Shumpert, you get excited. Paul writes, Griffin pulling out of talks with the Knicks is just evidence that our culture is screwed no matter what.
Pretty much. I mean, the fact that we wouldn't let a future GM or president bring in his own guys just shows what state this team is in.
I mean, how do you not let the guy just bring in his own people? Could you imagine we had a system like that in the U.S.? Well, I guess I would like that if Donald Trump got here and he had to still deal with Joe Biden.
Right. It's like, yeah,
that'd be better.
You have to stick with Obama's cabinet.
That'd be better for everyone. Justin writes, I hate the Knicks. Timmy Hardaway Jr., really? That's what we're going to blow our wad on. Gah. I was thinking that, Jay, you know how I was thinking that we should cut to a scene of the Timmy Hardaway's his agent receiving the news of the offer, and then you just play a scene from Pornhub. Gillum writes, according to 538, Tim Hardaway's value last season was $15 million. So 4 seasons, it would be about $60 million. Obviously, the Knicks are betting on him improving, but let's just say he keeps last season's level. Is $10 million more too much to overpay considering he was a restricted free agent? What would you say it was a fair value, and how much would you have overpaid to attempt the Knicks not to match? So let's just say, Jay, you know the Hawks are going to offer 48. You want Hardaway on the Knicks. How much would you be willing to pay to get him here? What would you think would have been a fair offer?
I think 60 would have done it.
Yeah. Do you think $71 million at 4 years without the trade kicker would have done it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that site is it says Melo's going to be worth $31 million over the next 5 years.
Someone said that Porzingis is worth $1 billion on that site.
Yeah, they said he's going to be worth $161 million or something like
that. Justin writes, is Rambis still with the team? Should Dolan max out his contract with a no trade clause and a monthly compounding trade kicker?
I mean, we bash Melo, but to say he's only going to be worth $30 million over 5 years, that's pretty crazy.
I mean, that presumes he retires in 2 years.
Yeah, or he just blows out his Achilles the second year.
I mean, yeah, we bash Melo. I think the thing is people give Melo a little bit too much crap. I've come to think about it as I think he's been bad on defense. He's outside of his prime. The Knicks should not be building on him anymore. They should be moving on from him. But how much you want to kill him? He's the guy you signed a couple of years ago. He's always been Melo. He's been the exact same player the whole time. I don't know. He's the guy the Knicks traded for.
Before I comment, get to the next question.
Okay. Paul writes, please list the free agents you would rather had instead of Timmy. Bradley, Mack come to mind, or should we have picked Monk and gotten a point guard in free agency?
I don't know about Monk, but I mean Bradley would have been nice.
Well, Bradley wasn't a free agent. We're talking about Avery?
Yeah.
So
But
who would the Knicks have traded?
Yeah, okay. Well, that was a bad example. But I don't know. I would have probably rather Darren Collison, Tyreek Evans.
I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, whatever. I like drafting the French dude still, so I'm going to stick with the French dude on this. Yeah, there are guys that we could have drafted would be better than Timmy.
Okay.
James writes, I do not have a problem signing Hardaway. Tall and length is good when passing lanes, gaps, etc. The question is why they picked the big contract with the player option for year 4 as opposed to a team option, and why the 50% trade kicker. That is one of the problems trading Melo, the trade kicker.
Yep, it's beyond explanation, really.
Do you think like Hardaway got the offer and they were laughing so hard and they're like, hey, just go back and ask for a trade kicker. It would be hilarious.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh crap, he actually did it.
I feel like other teams do that to us all the time.
Oh my god. I mean, can you imagine, like, you get offers from the Knicks now, you just feel like they'll give you the world. There's no negotiation here.
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan writes, what do you guys think we could possibly get from Houston or Cleveland for Melo? Understand I am retracing old ground, but so desperately want him to go. Give some hope. The trades don't look very good.
No, Cleveland would have to be Love. That's the only thing that works, I think. And Houston,
A third.
Gordon, Ariza, or a third team.
I think for both teams there has to be a third team because Love doesn't really work on the Knicks either because Love doesn't necessarily work next to Porzingis.
No, but I feel like if you do Love, then you could make a separate trade. I don't think you need
could
to
be-
do
yeah.
one move.
Yeah, it has to be. There has to be a third team involved, whether right away or shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And Love probably has the most value of the guys you're going to get as far as the third team.
Yeah.
Paul writes, find it funny that Smith is the guy we didn't want because of his injury history. He's playing pretty well so far in the Summer League game. Meanwhile, our guy is sidelined with an injured knee.
Yep.
Knicks.
Hilarious.
Rob writes, how much do you think forcing the triangle offense held back the team last year? And how many more games would the last year's team have won with no fill, no practicing the triangle, or running the triangle, and instead trying to play every other team in the league?
I think we would have won a few more games. I think the bigger problem was having a fractured locker room, which was because basically of the triangle.
Yeah, well, all those things get better. Yeah, I feel like the team would have won 31 games.
Yeah.
I feel like we're up to like 36 or 37 games. I still think they had a lot of issues.
Then
They're
we
not
could have
gonna
gotten
get
an even
that much
worse draft pick.
Gillum writes, are you happy Griffin won't be the next Knicks president? I think he's being overvalued because of Cavs' success on the floor when it's actually only thanks to GM James.
I mean, he might have been overrated, but he was going to be way better than what we had.
I mean, in fairness, Griffin has a lot of experience. He was in the league. He's been in the league for like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
He was an assistant for a number of years, and he's been a GM for a while. You have to hope experience. I mean, we've gone with no experience, so getting a guy with a lot of experience seems like not a bad thing. But yeah, I agree. I'd rather someone else. Do you think, Jay? Do you think Steve Mills is the GM of this team in October? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Gillum writes, is it fair to say one of the big problems the Knicks have had is inconsistency in the front office over the years? Do you see as something positive they want to keep most of the people considering the scouts, etc., have been reasonably successful lately with KP, Willie, etc.? Or do you prefer they hire someone who can bring all his people and thus having big changes?
Drain the swamp.
As far as I don't know to what extent he wanted to make changes, and the scouting has been pretty good. But I also think, like, you change the top, you change the top. A GM should be able to bring in his own people and just, like, I don't think you should force him to work with other people. Basically, I feel like he wants to keep other guys. That's great, but if he has a whole circle of people he works with, you let him bring all those people in here.
Yeah.
You have to go full. You have to go. The Knicks have to go like you're bringing a GM. You have to give him a vote of 100% confidence. Like we're just going to trust you and let you do what you think is best. Not like immediately like step in and try to like screw you up. Basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
You don't want him to be undermined from day one. Just like the Knicks coaches the last couple of years have all been undermined from day one. Gillen writes, I've had this trade in my mind for a while as a solution for the Melo situation. Basically, it's based on Melo and Lee to the Cavs, Love to OKC, so it makes it easier for them to retain George, Westbrook having a third star, and then a couple of young forwards to the Knicks with Abrinas and Grant. Then other pieces move to the same to make salaries work. So I proposed send Cantor the Nets for Lynn, and as Russell will be their point guard, and the Knicks need one to start. Thoughts? So basically, not to go through the whole trade, but the Knicks end up getting Jeremy Lin, Channing Frye, Alex Abrinas, and Grant's brother. Jermaine Grant's brother. How do you pronounce that, Jay?
Jeremy.
Okay. Wasn't even close. What do you think?
We better be getting some draft picks with that, or that's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we're going to get much. I mean, it doesn't sound like we're going to do that much better than buying Melo out.
Yeah.
All these... I don't know enough about Brinas, so maybe he's good. Jeremy Lin could be our point guard to, like, mentor, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like... It's okay. All the trades sound pretty mediocre. Brian writes, Melo said this week that he prefers a buyout so he can join a team as currently constructed. Does it anger you that he didn't bother to join the Knicks as currently constructed in 2011? Do people still think Melo is loyal? Lastly, getting Michael Porter or Doncic should be our priority right now.
Yeah, that really pissed me off. The guy asked the Knicks to gut the team so he could get there, and then he wants a buyout so the team he goes to is still stacked. Like
you learn from your mistakes.
I would love to see how some of those Melo defenders on Twitter would defend that comment.
I just want them to be able to do something. There has to be some trade where you get something of even some value back.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would just feel like, just can you throw in the 2030 first round pick? Throw in some first round pick from some decade, this millennium.
Right. Make
Make us happy. Like the Knicks report back. Oh, the Knicks get the first round picks from 2098 and 2096.
It's something.
So, it's something. 100 years from now, when you're all dead, we'll all be excited to have those picks. Brian writes, true or false? A buyout as a last resort is a legit and sound option for dealing with Melo. Hint, right answer is true because tanking properly is more important than pride and sunk cost. And Paul writes back, it really just makes Dolan look bad. I'd like something back, but not another big contract. No one would be better than that. What do you think, Jay?
No,
let's just say
it's Dolan's money. I would rather them do what they did with Marbury and just say, you sit on the bench and you don't get off the bench. You're wasting an entire year of your career because you were a dick.
You know what I love? People have said, like, well, you can't do that because then free agents will never want to come here. And you're like, first off, free agents don't want to come here.
Yeah, nobody wants to come here.
And secondly, you're telling me free agents will go like, hey, the Knicks are willing to pay guys $20 million a year not to play. You don't want to do that?
Right.
There's no injury risk.
Take a year off, get $20 million, then go to another team, and you're still fresh.
Like right now, everyone listening to this podcast is doing as much as the Knicks normally pay guys $20 million a year to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The Knicks are going to be a lot worse without Melo, and that'll be a good thing for the draft and a good thing for rebuilding culture.
Yep.
What did we learn today, Jay?
We learned that it's never a dull moment in Knicks world.
Never a dull moment in Knicks world.
We learned that nothing is apparently going to change ever because there is a bunch of guys in the Knicks front office that apparently have immunity from everything.
Are you happy at least that, like, we now know the dumbest thing the Knicks are going to do this summer.
That
There's
is
no
true.
way they could do anything dumber than this.
That is true.
There's nothing like what could they do this summer that's going to be dumber? They're not trading KP. They've already pretty much said they're not trading KP.
Yeah, they're not trading draft picks, so yeah.
Like, what's it going to be? Like the Knicks ceremony for, to start the season involves lighting Hearn and Gomez on fire. That would be dumber.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so we'll be back next week when Melo probably gets traded, and we'll talk about that.
And if Melo's not traded, we will talk about the rest of free agency because I kind of do want to talk about what's going on in the rest of the league as soon as the Knicks stuff gets slow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. And goodbye.
My love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end. Say goodbye. You better go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone.